Well, hello, Heart and Soul Collective. Today's podcast episode is all about partnerships, personal, professional, fill in the blank, whatever. And we will be talking about partnerships, diving into what this could look like for you, what it means to be in partnership, what it means to be outside of a partnership, what is important to partnerships, how they can, I'll use the word thrive. So welcome and please listen.
Welcome to Heart and Soul, the podcast where we empower and inspire women to lead their best lives, harnessing the power of their hearts and souls. We are Mariah
And Monique,
your hosts and guides on this journey of self-discovery and personal growth.
in each episode, we will dive deep into topics that matter most to you, from self-love and confidence to career development, relationships, and everything in between. We believe that every woman has a unique strength and inner wisdom waiting to be unleashed.
Join us as we cover insightful heart and soul-centered topics and interview incredible women who've overcome challenges, chased their dreams, and found their true purpose. Through all of this, you will discover practical tips, strategies, and real-life stories to help you navigate life's twists and turns.
For whatever season of life you're in, this podcast is your safe space to explore, learn, grow, and possibly even laugh and cry with us. So grab your headphones, maybe your favorite drink, and we'll embark on this transformative journey together.
With heart, I'm Mariah.
And with soul, I'm Monique. Well, today is the day that we have chosen to talk about partnerships. So Heart and Soul Group, Tribe Collective, we're here because we are in partnership with each other, obviously.
Right.
And you are a partnership maven. I have been in many partnerships, right? And so I don't know anybody better but to talk about partnerships because you've been in family partnerships, friendship partnerships, business partnerships, right?
I'm in the business of partnering people up. It's true.
Yes, you are.
That's kind of what I do.
Right. So you're going
Weddings,
to... Yes,
weddings, if
right,
anybody
right.
is wondering.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're going to talk to us today about partnerships, how we can bring them into our lives, how they affect us, all of that. So let's get started.
Okay. Yeah, it's so funny because just listening to you talk about it, like when you said you're the partnership maven, I'm like, oh, dang. Like I have personally
Literally.
united so many partners, both as a wedding officiant and just as a wedding planner, getting them down the aisle over the years. And I'm definitely someone who doesn't like to do anything alone. Like I really like to have a buddy.
Yeah.
I love like being in a marriage and having a buddy. I love, friends that like to do things together. I always wanted a team around me in business. I never wanted to be a solopreneur.
Yeah.
From day one. And I have been in a lot of partnerships in business from my family, my mother, who still partners with me on so many things today and is the best. And in our journey in Mastermind with our group, it was really evident that any work that you do on yourself is phenomenal, obviously, but there's always going to be other inputs to that through your partnerships, be the romantic, family, your children, your business partners, your coworkers.
All
like
of it.
we don't live in a bubble. Like
Right.
we're all in this stew together. And so the way that you form those partnerships and those connections is really critical part of everything working. Like putting all the things in practice is like bringing everybody else along for the ride too.
Yes. I feel like you can have like a really successful one area of your life, but if another partnership that you're in isn't thriving, it can really be a challenge. So partnerships are so important.
So when we set out with this topic for our group, we wanted to just, in year one, this is like one of the very first things that we talk about.
Yes.
We wanted to focus on just drawing awareness to, you're about to go on a journey of self-development and, working on whether your business or personal, this heart and soul journey, and you're going to have partnerships that need to be brought along on this ride. And what are the ways that you can really do that? How can you integrate those relationships? Because we recognize that without that, like you need the buy-in
Mm-hmm.
for success to happen going
Yes.
forward.
Yes.
So the number one thing, like of anything that we could talk about on this is communication.
Oh, geez.
I mean, that's kind of like
Yeah.
the secret to life in general.
Yes,
Certainly in relationships.
for sure.
But it's so important that from the beginning of this mastermind journey,
Yeah. We start off with that.
that you start off
Yes.
with like, you do need to communicate what you're experiencing with your partner or your partners or
Yes.
your like whatever you're doing, and like finding ways to share about what you're experiencing and communicate both to them and seek communication from them. Gotten me many times like, well, I just assumed.
Right. Whoopsies.
Yeah, right.
Whoops.
And there's so much fear and hesitancy around saying hard things,
Yes.
around the potential to disappoint people
Or hurt.
people.
Right.
And so for whatever reason in society, we've been programmed to feel that communicating has to be negative, that the outcome has to be negative.
Yeah.
And that's been one for me that I've really worked on, and I'm sure need a lot more work on.
I think it's a lifelong journey.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
That it's not all bad news, and that just having to communicate something doesn't have to be difficult.
Yeah.
More importantly, it needs to be routine.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be consistent. It needs to be kind, and it needs to be transparent.
Right.
Like, communication isn't half the story, right? Like then they're not getting the whole picture, the whole story.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
you know, that said, obviously it's knowing your audience of like what you can share and what audience.
Yeah.
But I think that that's an important piece of it is the consistency and the clarity around your communication. And sometimes it will be hard things you have to talk about.
Yeah.
And sometimes and oftentimes hard things will turn into really amazing things as outcomes.
Absolutely. Right.
One of the things that I've always, or that I've recognized, again, in maturity and experience, is that the outcome for me is one piece of it. But whatever we discuss, how the other person reacts, can just as much surprise me for the positive as the negative.
Yeah.
Maybe my communication with them actually opened the door for them for something better.
Yes.
So versus going into a conversation where you think the worst could happen, what's the best that could happen?
Right.
So I think about this with our group. In our group, we kind of at the end of each year, we talk about what next year looks like. Well, because we're new in each of these years has been kind of like trying it out and figuring out what's working. You know, we're not sure how they're going to take it. We're not sure how, like, are people going to want to continue working with us?
Right.
Do they like the program that we're putting out for next year? But rather than approach it from like, no, you know, obviously we believe in ourselves and we have confidence in what we're doing, but that this might not work for someone.
Right.
What if we approach it as like, this is what it is, and it will probably unexpectedly work well for people in a variety of different ways.
Right.
Like, you don't have to be settled on the outcome as
very good
one
point.
way or another.
Right.
And that's just applies in all relationships. Like, just be consistent, clear, and honest, and let the universe involve itself in the ways that need to, but it will build your relationship one way or another.
Yeah, my question, I think, too, is, you know, I have been a solopreneur. I have been
Not at all.
in partnership as well. Same as you, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's benefits of like the back and forth, one or the other. Each one has its pluses and minuses. When I'm a solopreneur, it's all on me, but I don't have to run it by anybody. When it's a partner, right? like I don't have to take all of the workload, right? So I don't know if you thought about this, but what do you see as benefits of partnerships?
Collaboration.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, like I said from the beginning, I never wanted to be a solopreneur. Now, that said, in my main businesses, I'm the sole owner, but I surround myself with a team because I recognize that I don't have it all. And I would love to draw on the strengths of other people.
Yes.
And work together
Yeah.
in collaboration and teams. Like I'm a creative, and creativity for me really flows by bouncing off other people.
Yes.
And their energies and their ideas. So I really knew like that was for me important to be surrounded by a team. So I see, you know, I think the other side of that is I 100% want to control the decision making.
Yeah.
As a solopreneur can do.
Yes.
Because you don't have to answer to anybody else. But life is for me, and I think for most people, it's about relationships and it's
Yeah.
about community and collaboration and like really thriving off of other people's energies. And so I've found that I'd rather put my eggs in the basket of working on good, healthy collaboration and partnerships. You're my
Yeah.
first business partner,
Oh,
really.
interesting. I didn't even know that.
I guess
Oh.
that's not true. My mother and I were business partners.
Yes. But outside of like
outside of
your
a family relationship.
Yeah, and your
Yeah.
orbital business, right? Your first like intentional thing
Yeah.
that you set up.
And absolutely. And so
Interesting.
the funny thing is like I think people go into business with a partner and it's scary
Yes.
and like there's
It
a
can
lot
be.
of risk there.
Right,
And
like what if I ruin the friendship
yeah.
that we
Oh,
had,
yeah,
right?
right?
Right,
Like,
right.
the beautiful thing about us is it's like never been a doubt.
Right.
You know, because I
Yes.
think we are so aligned in our
Yeah.
values and our communication
Work
and our
ethic.
strengths and weaknesses.
Yes.
So that's a really great thing, but it's where it's important in building partnerships is seeking those things.
Right.
You know, whether it's in marriage, because that's something I see a lot of couples and I see their strengths and weaknesses and how they work together in planning a wedding. It's really, about those shared values,
Mm-hmm.
the balance of strengths and weaknesses in the partnership and their
Right.
communication. When those things align, that sets them up for a lot of success in whatever they do. And it's fun. I get to be the witness to that in couples planning a really stressful event and guiding them through that process, but also watching like how they complement each other. And I mean, it's pretty clear the ones that are very aligned,
Mhm.
and that just makes everything flow. And that's what we're always talking about is like in
Yes.
our partnership, the most important thing is flow.
Yeah.
When we come up against something that doesn't
Feel
feel
right.
right, or
Right.
easy,
We have come
or-
up against that this year,
Yeah.
actually.
and then we kind of
Yes.
pause, step back,
Reassess. Neither of us have
give
this
time.
urgency that this has to be this way now, which is unique and kind of hard to find in a partner.
Yeah, but
Right.
certainly something you should seek
Yes.
in those relationships,
Like that
partnerships.
Yeah, that like almost mutable,
yeah,
you know?
intangible.
Right. Right.
I think you can get to a healthy partnership. You know, we're lucky. I
Yes.
I think there's something
Stars aligned.
special there, but I don't think that that's something people can't get to a level of with good communication and aligned values.
Yes. Here's what I love about partnerships. You had an idea, right? And you came to me with an idea, and we're like, wow, that's a great idea. But like both of us were just like, when in the heck are we going to make this thing happen? And we were talking with some other people and decided to partner with them to bring this idea to life, because even in our partnership, we had reached a capacity mark, right?
Yeah,
So we
there's
brought
only so
other
much.
people into the fold that we could. I guess my whole point is partnerships allow you to actually make more things happen, right?
Totally. You might have just solved something for me today, Monique. Truth bomb.
Good.
Yeah.
But that's how I see it.
I think that's so true. And like you can approach them with fear.
Yes.
Because like people will hurt you and disappoint you and stuff can go wrong. But why not approach them with abundance and belief in the people you choose when knowing
Yes.
who you're going
Yes.
into partnership
That's
with.
huge. I've had
Like,
had
do your vetting.
partnerships.
And then go in like with both feet.
Yes.
Because if you don't give it your all and build that trust between the people, you're not starting off on a good foot.
Mm-hmm.
And I had said to Monique earlier today, like, I'm overwhelmed by the amount of amazing things that I want to do right now. Like, I just want it all to happen right now
All
because
the
I love
things
it.
all
I
at
like
once.
it's so much good stuff.
Yeah.
And the only way I can get any of it done is relying on my partnerships,
Mm-hmm.
be them with vendors or, you know, professionals I've hired in different realms, marketing, construction, like whatever it
Right.
is, like all my
Fill
different
the blank.
spheres, like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm just my husband, my children, my
Yep.
business part, like it's
Right.
it's all in community. We all rely on each other. And so approaching like being a good partner is the best way that I can move things forward. Like,
Agreed.
what do they need from me to take the next step?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's really top of mind every day.
Yeah, I'm curious too. Do you think like in partnerships, and this has kind of been something that you and I have done, and actually with other business partners I have too that have been successful, is like almost a reassessment along the way, right?
Yep.
Like every year you and I sit down like, okay, what worked, what didn't work?
Yep.
What do we want to take forward? What do we want to leave behind? You know, do we just want to plug and play and do the same thing or whatever, you know?
It's like it's having that conversation in a no judgment zone,
Yes.
judgment free zone.
Thank you for saying that.
And actually thinking back to traveling together with a group, we have a lot of competing interests and needs.
Oh, for
and,
sure.
like, you know,
Somebody wants to
And
go to here and here.
I said
yeah.
from the beginning on one of the trips that we took with a larger group, everyone needs to communicate their needs.
Mm-hmm.
Just say it,
Mm-hmm.
and then as a group, we will evaluate how we can make it happen. It may
Yes.
not, you know, you've got to go to the bathroom. Cool. We'll figure it out because now we are aware of your need. But if you don't say it, nobody can help you.
Right.
And so I feel like that's that evaluation is like if there's something not working, we need to just say it, not approach it that the outcome of that is bad. It's probably better.
Yes.
The next iteration of what we do because that wasn't working has the best opportunity to be the better version of what we're doing.
Yeah, and I feel like without communicating your needs or desires in partnerships, whether they're professional or personal, resentments can build so fast because you're like, well, I did this and they didn't do, you know, you just have that internal story that runs,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, that comes into play in partnerships.
And the most toxic trait or toxic outcome
Yeah.
along those lines that occurs is contempt.
Yes.
You start to hold contempt for the person that you should be holding in admiration.
Yes.
And once you enter that zone, it's very difficult to come back from it. You can absolutely do so, but it's going to take work. And that
Repair.
work is going to repair, and it's going to
Yeah.
be related to communication and asking and saying, what do we need? But also at some point, like they might just come to an end, and that's okay too.
Yes.
Everything has a season.
Absolutely.
I mean, most everything, I guess.
how long are we going to do this? We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
We take it every year, actually. We kind of reevaluate every
Right.
year, right? Which I
Like,
think is very smart.
That leaves us open to what's better to come,
Mhm.
you know? So I think that it all comes back to clear communication, like I said from the
Yes,
beginning.
absolutely.
And
Agree.
the comfort level to state your needs.
Right.
And to take that in a judgment-free zone where it's just a matter of fact.
Mhm.
From there, we can solve for it.
So you're saying if a cornerstone is communication, which totally I agree, the opposite of that would be this contentment with lack of communication, right?
Contempt, yeah.
Contempt. Okay. So like, have you seen? I guess what really works, what doesn't work in partnerships, both professional, personal. You know.
Personally, what doesn't work is assuming. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that we covered that
Yeah.
already. And it's people pleasing.
Oh yeah.
You know, like
Yes.
stuffing your feelings or stuffing what's
For the
bothering
good of somebody
you
else or whatever.
because you're worried about the other person's reaction. You're concerned that they might be upset. This could be bad for them. You don't know. It might be the best thing that ever happened to them.
Yes.
Right? Even if it's hard in the process or to you. You know, there's a lot of there's so many examples of people, maybe they lose their job, but it's the release that they needed to take the next
Yeah.
step into a career that they love. Like, it's the flip side. It's,
Yes.
I'm, you know me, I'm always flipping the script.
Right,
Like
right.
every time. And that's my 7 Enneagram. It's like, I can polish a lot of turds. Like, it's just, that's one of my talents.
Yeah, I'm a good turd polisher.
But it's really flipping that script. And so how can this be the best thing that ever happened to me versus how this,
Yeah,
of course,
life
like, you do
ended.
have to take the time to sit in your emotions and
Yeah.
grieve or whatever, but there's a lot of opportunity that comes with unexpected.
I think you had hit a really interesting topic with partnerships is people pleasing, right? Because the assuming kind of can come from this, well, I just want them to be happy. And, like we're all in it for ourselves, but then when you create a partnership, it's the group, and then you're trying to outread each other, you know what I mean? And outmaneuver, and that is just like never very healthy. Yeah. So the whole thing, I think that's been really great for us, has been transparency of where we are right in the moment.
Yep.
And then the other person receives it without judgment, because this is what we're doing the work while we're facilitating the work for others.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm perfect and you're not perfect. That's not at all what we're saying. But like, I feel like because we foster that, it naturally like comes to our partnership.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And I feel like I could tell you something, and I think I have, like, this is, something that didn't work or whatever, and you would receive it and be like, okay, well, let's pivot. Yep. Right?
And I probably already know, right?
Right.
Right.
You're probably feeling the same thing.
I was like, oh, thanks for calling it out. Right. I feel like I have examples that I'm trying to pull from, but
well, even just like going into year 3 of our mastermind group, like we both knew, we're like, dang, this we want to continue and not, but it has to change, right?
Yeah, we were at capacity and we needed to say it.
Yes.
And we were able to just sit down and be like, I can't do any more of this, time commitment.
Right.
And then it was like a relief, right? Because, perfect, I can't either. Okay, now what do we do instead?
Right, because we also don't want to just leave something so wonderful that we created, but that's the thing about you and I's partnership is we're both nimble enough where we are okay with creatively moving. I have been in other partnerships where it feels like the ground is cement and your feet, you're like, I need to move this way, and you just can't, because maybe you're bumping up against somebody else's like limiting beliefs about what the partnership should look like. Or even in my own self and past partnerships I've been in, I maybe had those limiting beliefs like, how could I see it differently? How could it be differently? This is the paradigm in which we're in, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I can, think of so many examples where one person on either side of the partnership like just wasn't interested in budging.
Yes.
For different reasons, for where they're at in life. And at the end of the day, then let's dissolve this partnership amicably. It doesn't have to end badly. I know there's a phrase like, wouldn't be an ending, if it wasn't something, inherently sad about it, but it can be done with grace.
Yes.
And it may be just time to move on. And I think that's with us, like in our year 3 mastermind, is what we're saying is like, it's time to change our partnership. And that's okay. Mm-hmm. This doesn't have to be a sad ending. It's just a transition and on. And I think that people are showing that by example, even today, more and more in relationships, marriages, businesses. Like there can be more delicate ways or more graceful ways to end things and like have it work out.
Yeah, I've tried in my recent past to really just bring it back to the relationship, right? Yeah. Like, I don't want to blow up the relationship. It's more important than anything for me, right? Like you were saying, that's like in one of the most important things in life is relationships. Yep. So, I
literally had this conversation yesterday with someone who came to me and was worried about sharing something negative, something that was going on. And the first thing, was I haven't been telling you this because I didn't want it to impact our relationship.
Yeah.
first of all, I already had a hunch, right? Like,
Yeah.
we know, we sense, like,
Yeah.
you kind of know.
Yeah.
So get out with it, right? Second of all, I can immediately make that judgment, like, whether this person, for me, like, that relationship supersedes whatever's, like, tell me whatever's
Yeah.
going on.
Right.
And then we can solve for it and work it out.
Right.
And in the future, do not wait this long to tell me this, because we could have got way ahead of this if you trust in our relationship, in our partnership.
Beautifully said.
Then we could we can change the story at any time if you bring it to me.
That, what you just said right there, trust, a key foundational piece to a partnership.
Yeah. And
right?
it's built.
Yes.
You know, sometimes
That's true.
it's like you just know on a soul level, like you just connect.
Yeah.
But other times it's through repetitive, great interactions and trust that's built.
Right.
But it's really important to work on that. Like, start out trusting.
Right.
So many people don't.
Right.
They just go through life with fear. Again, like there's a lot of cornerstones that we could hit on.
Yeah.
But they just go through life with fear, and that makes it really hard to build a trusting relationship.
It does. I mean, it has been in my life, like, the thing that's gotten in the way, from being able to grow is when I bump up against my fear, my limiting beliefs, whatever, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with partnerships, I guess, do you have a preference one way or another on a partnership, soloship?
Like I said, kind of throughout this, like I like to have a buddy.
Yeah,
I like to have a buddy.
I know, right?
I really do. I just work better. I'm held accountable. I'm chaos on my own. It's like my family would corroborate that story, but I get in my head, with my own narrative when I'm not in partnership or communication with somebody else, and whatever that looks like. But I'm loving this partnership that we have.
Yes,
and
same.
Using it as an example of how I would build future partnerships.
I agree.
And how I want to go forward in that.
Yes.
And I love having, my husband, my partner in life. And we've recently done some exercises in our marriage around this relationship building. Yeah. There's a book it's called The Love Prescription. And we can reference it in the show notes, but it hits on a lot of these topics. And we just celebrated 18 years.
Oh, congrats.
And yeah, that went by in a flash.
Yeah, it does.
There's the basic things that we can always work on in improving our partnership in marriage. And so, but I like, no matter how hard it gets, like, I want to like have a buddy.
Yeah.
So, and thankfully I did marry my best friend. So we, we were hanging in there.
He's a cool guy. That said, I think that I choose partnerships because it's lonely, just being solo, right?
Yeah.
The one thing I would say, though, that I wanted to just bring up is discernment with partnerships, right? Not judgment. Like, it's not a judgment piece like, oh, that's a bad situation, whatever. It's more about, like, what does it feel like it aligns with me?
Yeah.
Using my own internal discernment to, is that person, situation, thing, whatever, gonna enhance me, gonna bring me joy, or does that feel heavy inside, weighted, like a weighted blanket?
Yeah,
right?
It's that knowing.
Yes.
And like, is this right for me right now?
Yeah, right. And also, I loved that you talked about how it could run its course and it doesn't have to be dramatic. I talk about this a little bit with my coaching, like sometimes chapters need to end before the next chapter can begin.
Yeah.
And that's so true of the chapters of our lives, right?
Yeah.
These are the days of our lives.
Oh, I love me a good soap opera.
Telenovela, baby.
Yeah.
I think I lived that for a bit.
Oh my God.
I'm out of that, maybe.
Yeah, I'm all about, just the analogies around things need to come to an end so new things can grow.
Uh-huh.
You got to let go.
Yes.
So that you can grab onto the next thing. Like I could go on
Yes.
and on. I mean, they're endless, but we only have so much capacity.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So
Don't
How do
be
you
afraid.
make room for more?
Right. You have a partner.
You let something else go, or you partner up
Right.
and you take on more together. Like we only have so many options. So, yeah, I think discernment is really good, and really just like listening to your intuition and your inner knowing. I mean, we've like covered the gambit of things that we talk about today, but that's partly why this is one of the first topics that we cover, because it is so rooted in all the cornerstones.
It's like the basics, really.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're not in this alone. No, like on this earth, we'll never be in this alone.
Right.
Like think about that. Like when I travel to other places, I'm struck by humanity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm struck by like walking the streets of Barcelona, and there's like people everywhere, and I'm think like these people live whole lives here. Like this is their whole life. They live here.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, and I live a whole life. Duluth, Minnesota. These places are wildly different.
Yes.
But we might meet in a bar in Barcelona and
Yes.
have a fun time.
Yes.
And like get each other's Instagram handles. And the next thing I know all about this person's life in California or Barcelona or wherever. Like we're really interconnected. This is just getting like, get all like esoteric here. But I just think that it's such an important topic because we're just never in this alone. And remembering that in the hardest days is what's going to help you through them.
You have partners in life, partners in work, whatever, partners in all things.
People need people.
Yeah. Options. I've got options.
There's a lot of ways to look at it.
Yep. Okay. Well, thank you. That was so wonderful.
Yeah. I'm excited to share even more on this topic going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I hadn't really thought a lot about it coming into this, how my career is so much about
Partnerships.
People getting married and putting on their weddings and like forging these legal partnerships. Well, this episode went deep.
No kidding.
And we covered a lot of ground. Just recapping briefly, communication.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to your gut and your knowing. But we need people.
Yes.
So work on your partnerships.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of beauty and joy that comes out of them.
Absolutely. Right.
And with that, if you enjoyed this conversation and you'd love to hear more of our content, we invite you to seek us out on heartandsoulmastermind.com. Follow us on Instagram at the Heart and Soul Collective or at Heart and Soul Collective.
Yes.
And leave us a review. Like us, all the things. Like
Right.
we're really looking for building our community.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my heart. I'm the heart, Mariah.
I'm the soul, Monique. Signing off.